we have breaking news. Donovan Mitchell has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, you know it. Anytime something happens big in Salt Lake City sports, the Monty Show is where you go to react to that. And this is big without a doubt. The Utah Jazz and the Cleveland Cavaliers come together on a Donovan Mitchell deal. And the details of this particular trade are pretty significant. And I think the story behind the trade is significant as well. If you're just finding out about this, if you're just joining us on the show, Donovan Mitchell has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They get 3 unprotected first-round picks. Now, these are the things that we're going to have to get into here. 25, 27, and 29, and pick swaps for 26 and 28. Along with the deal that they got from Minnesota, Danny Ainge has now picked up 13 unprotected or lightly protected draft picks through 2029, which is just an absolute mind-blowing number when you look at where the Jazz have been versus where they are now. So again, they're sending 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2025, 2027, 2029, pick swaps in 26 and 28. Collin Sexton is part of this deal in a sign and trade with the Utah Jazz. He signs a 4-year, $72 million deal. Ochai Agbaji, who is their 2022 lottery pick in Cleveland, part of this deal, as is Lauri Markkanen. This is very reminiscent, almost identical, Jake, to what Danny Ainge did with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you like this deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think that Danny is setting a foundation with this deal, and I think it needs to be said right now, until you make another deal or show us you're going to trade a bunch of these picks that you have, you're in full rebuild mode right now. Now, with that being said, you could easily turn this into a contending team by making more deals, and that's honestly what I think is going to happen. I think that, you've got the Bogdanovich-Laker angle, the Conley-Laker angle, and all of these picks to work with, and so I think we're just getting started. I think that what's really fascinating here, first of all, is Leon Rose deserves a lot of credit for not giving in from the Knicks and not doing a deal that he didn't like. He deserves a lot of credit for that, number one. Number two, I think it's really fascinating to see the fast pivot here. I mean, you've got reports that say the Knicks and the Jazz were kind of done on Monday after a deal was declined. And then Kobe Altman called Justin Zanuck, and they put a deal together. So really interesting to see how quickly things move, but I think it speaks to just how active the Utah Jazz have been. So do I like this deal? Yeah, I think it's a good first deal. I think that Donovan, it's going to be good for him. I'm sure that he'll thrive in Cleveland playing next to Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. And frankly, if I'm being honest, he has no more excuses not to win basketball games. It's just time. As far as the Jazz are concerned, I think the Jazz are, like I said, they're in a perfect place, and I'll just keep saying this. Danny Ainge is dominating the league as far as trades are concerned. Notice this is just another trade. We've got Royce O'Neal, we've got Rudy Gobert, now we've got Donovan Mitchell, right? You're 3 of your staples on what was this team. So I look forward and I say, hey, now it's time to work on Bogdanovich and Conley. What are you going to do with those 2 guys, and how can you leverage those? Is that just getting picks back? Is that just a basic trade, or are you part of something bigger? We'll see. But I think what I really like is that you're in the catbird seat once again with 13 unprotected and lightly protected picks. Over the course of the next, 7 years, you've got a lot of flexibility here and a lot of ammunition to go out and build a team. So if you're a Utah Jazz fan today, I think that I wouldn't be doomsdaying it. I understand why you're surprised and shocked that we went from the Knicks to the Cavs. Totally get it. But at the same time, this is not a bad deal. I think this deal puts you in a good position to go and build a team, which is ultimately what Danny Ainge wants.
Yeah, I think this is an okay deal. I love that you got 3 unprotected first-round picks. We told you, dating back 6 weeks now, Danny Ainge set a price for Donovan Mitchell with the Knicks. It was 4 unprotected first-round picks, but he would likely take 3. And from what we were told this morning by NBA sources, Leon Rose was not willing to go to 3. And Danny Ainge did not want to pay Russell Westbrook's $47 million salary is part of this deal. That seems to be why Cleveland got back involved. And from what Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN is reporting, Monday, Cody Altman at the Cleveland Cavaliers called back to Danny Ainge. And as I had told you earlier, probably, 2 weeks ago now, Danny Ainge had said, we're not interested in trading Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Collin Sexton, head up in a sign and trade and 2 unprotected first-round picks. That's what Cleveland was offering at the time. Danny said no. Isaac Okoro was also not enough to entice Danny Ainge to move on that deal, and now you understand why. The Cavaliers came back, and as part of this deal, they send 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2 pick swaps. Like, that part of this deal's a home run. Mm-hmm. It is the Lauri Markkanen, Collin Sexton part of this deal that I'm not in love with. I much more would have preferred if Danny Ainge would have made a deal with the Knicks, but it does not seem like Quentin Grimes was going to be available for that. If you could have gotten Obi Toppin, if you could have gotten, obviously IQ's one of those guys, Emmanuel Quickley's one of those guys that everybody coveted, but you got to, as you said, Jake, I think you got to tip your cap to Leon Rose, the boss of the Knicks, because he held out. Now, is this a win or a loss for the Knicks? I don't know. But what I do know is the Knicks didn't sell the farm to get Donovan Mitchell. And my God, Cleveland absolutely sold the farm to get Donovan Mitchell. And here's the biggest problem in Cleveland right now. This does not make Cleveland an odds-on favorite to win the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. I think when you look at what they have, they are dynamic. They are very good. Darius Garland is an incredible player. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is going to come out and have the season of his career. I am telling you that Donovan Mitchell is a top 5 talent in this league. The issue becomes their ability to defend, their ability to match up with teams like the Brooklyn Nets. How does Donovan Mitchell fit into a matchup with the Brooklyn Nets? Is Donovan Mitchell going to defend? Because now I think, and I don't know what you think, but I think Donovan Mitchell becomes a huge part of their success. And we have not seen him defend at a high level. And that's my biggest question about this for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for Donovan, you're not in a small market anymore. You know what I mean? You're not in a market that is going to go easy on you. I think Cleveland's media market clearly has shown that it is willing to ask the tough question. And I think that Donovan Mitchell, like I said before, I think the time is now. I think the lights are as bright as they're going to be. And frankly, when I look at who you're playing with, I mean, you have Jared Allen as your rim protector, which is an interesting comparison to what you had in Rudy Gobert, because Jared Allen is much more mobile, but obviously a little bit smaller, right? And I think that you have a young team, a very athletic team, a team that likes to run up and down, and furthermore, a team that was already playoff bound. And so what's really interesting is how this trade will be remembered for Donovan Mitchell, because this is a team that was not NBA Finals good and certainly not a title contender, but were playoff good. So if I said to you, hey, an all-star, a 3-time all-star is going to go to a team that was already playoff good.
That's right.
The expectation would be NBA Finals, right? I think we could all agree on that. So that's why I say this is the season of Donovan Mitchell's career. You're either gonna take the Cleveland Cavaliers to the promised land, or you're gonna be considered one of those guys that's pretty good but not great, kind of like Paul George or kind of like Jason Tatum right now. You know, guys that are really good but haven't won anything. Devin Booker. You know, so that's why I say we'll see how this pans out. I think it's a good deal. Like, it's not the best thing you could have done. It's not an A+. I would give it probably a solid B minus, somewhere in there. I like it, but I don't love it. I think it remains to be seen. I think it's got I'm going to do a lot more deals written all over it. When I look at this and I see 13 unprotected or lightly protected picks, that's currency, man. That's hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go and get talent. I'm going to go and now build a team in Utah that can be, NBA Finals good for 5 to 7 years. So if I'm a Jazz fan and I'm hearing this news and I'm watching the show right now, I think you should feel, obviously a little bit of shock because it's the Cavs, but I think so.
You got to be excited.
Yeah, you got to be excited. That's what I was getting ready to say. I think that you have to be excited about what your future is, because I would rather be in a position where maybe I'm not NBA Finals good and maybe I'm not even playoff good right now, but clearly the guy driving the car is taking us down the yellow brick road. And I think I'd rather be going that route than being a team that's first-round playoffs good and never had a chance to win a championship. So I like it. I don't love it. That's where I come down on it.
And apparently, when you look at this deal, Danny Ainge really prioritized the first-round picks and Agbaji in this deal. NBA sources are texting me as we're sitting here, and Danny really prioritized getting Ochai Agbaji in this deal to team with Walker Kessler. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. You look at the Utah Jazz salary cap. His two highest paid players are now Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic. But if you look at the way that this roster has changed, Sexton, Markkanen, Beasley, Talon Horton-Tucker is another guy that comes to mind. Vanderbilt, Agbaji, Fontecchio, Walker Kessler that he got in the Minnesota trade. Mm-hmm. This is now a vastly different roster that the Utah Jazz have. And by the way, you don't have to hide or cower at the idea. This is now a full rebuild.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. This is absolutely a rebuild that the Utah Jazz have undertaken. And again, I like this deal. Agbaji's got to pan out for you. And I think Collin Sexton, the good news about Collin Sexton is this is now a prove-it contract for him, because this is not a lot of money for Collin Sexton. If you look at his salary number, he's looking at $16.7 million this first year. And the question then becomes, how much of this contract is he going to live out with the Jazz? Mm-hmm. I think that becomes a huge part of it. Again, Collin Sexton is involved in this deal. They acquire him and sign and trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers, a 4-year, $72 million deal as part of the Donovan Mitchell trade. Collin Sexton's a nice player. He is not Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And the question is now on this roster for the Utah Jazz, do you have somebody who's the caliber of Donovan Mitchell or projects to be that? And I think, Jake, the answer is no.
Yeah, I think that Donovan Mitchell is obviously a superior talent to Collin Sexton, and I think that Collin Sexton is in a nice place in his career arc, and I think you have him under club control for $18 million a year, which breeds control, flexibility, the ability to go out and make the move you want. So I like it as well.
Yeah, talking about breaking news, we are live because Donovan Mitchell has been traded from the Utah Jazz to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Monty Show presented by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Check them out online at utahadvocates.com. This is a huge story. I mean, there is simply no other way to spin this. Without further ado, let's get your comments in here because I see a lot of people ripping on the Knicks here. I don't actually think that this is a situation where you go ripping on the Knicks. That's just my opinion. It's not
about it. It's not about like and look, part of me understand. Before we get in the comments, we're about to, but before we get into them, what I want to say is I get why we have people ripping the Knicks, but at the same time, I think we need to not divert and go down the easy path, which is the Knicks suck or they didn't do this or that, or it's not about the Knicks, man. It's about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Utah Jazz. It's that simple. And if you want to make it about the Knicks, I think that we need to say, hey, Leon did a nice job here. Leon was unwilling to give more than he wanted to give. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Business is business. So let's try to leave the Knicks out of it as much as we can and talk about the fact that the day that Utah Jazz fans have been waiting for seemingly all summer is here. And now we need to figure out how do you guys feel about it? What are the people saying?
Yeah, first up is Justin Salas, who gives us a $5 tip. Thanks, Justin. Good to see you. I think these picks are way better value. We all know Don is not staying in Cleveland, plus the swaps Sexton's deal. It isn't horrible. It's not. It's a good trade. Make no mistake about it. I mean, Markkanen's going to be, obviously, Markkanen is a run-and Ute. He played at Utah. I mean, Lauri Markkanen's going to be here. I don't think there's any doubt that Agbaji's going to be here. I don't think there's any doubt that Collin Sexton's going to be here. The issue now becomes the value of these draft picks. Cleveland's going to be good. Is your 2025 draft pick really that valuable?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a big question. And so when you look at these pick swaps, and you look at what they got in return here, I just don't know. I don't know if this deal is. And I'm measuring my words because I don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers are championship medal right now. I don't. I don't think they're better. Are they better than Boston? Certainly not. Are they better than Brooklyn? I do not think so. Are they better than Philly? Boy, now I think you're talking. But what if James Harden comes back and he's vintage?
I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have the athleticism to hang with all those teams, but what they don't have is the experience that those teams have. Donovan Mitchell hasn't been deep into the playoffs. Darius Garland hasn't been deep into the playoffs. Evan Mobley hasn't been deep into the playoffs, and that's the thing. I think what Cleveland is banking on with this trade is that Donovan Mitchell is going to take them farther, and Donovan Mitchell is going to be that true difference maker. So I will say, for all the people who hate on Don or don't believe in Don or whatever, well, now you're going to get your example. He's either going to thrive and turn into a top 5 player in the league, and he's going to take Cleveland places, or it's going to fall flat on its face, and he's going to be regarded as way overrated, and this was a mistake by Cleveland. And that's literally what I think is on the line for Donovan, because if this doesn't work out, that doesn't bode well for your reputation. And so I just think if I'm a betting man, I think Donovan's going to explode and he will climb the ladder and do all those great things. But I think for the Utah Jazz, I understand why there's relief that this deal finally got done, but I am left feeling a little bit like, man, like the road ahead is uncertain. I mean, now, like, everyone was like, we got to burn it to the ground. Well, now they burned it to the ground, so how do you feel, right? This is what we said over the winter when everyone was like, hey, trade everybody, burn it to the ground, you all suck. Like, okay, well, they've done that now. So do you feel better, maybe? I don't know, but I just think that the Utah Jazz clearly have a plan. I don't buy for a second that Justin Zanuck is driving this car. Danny Ainge is driving the car. Zanuck's not making the calls to get the conversations. And that's how they're doing this. And I think it's working. And I think that these picks are going to get moved quickly.
Well, I think you would have liked to have gotten Grimes in quickly from the Knicks. I think that much is true. But this is not a bad deal by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I just think, and Jacob DeLambo gives us a $10 tip. It says, I'm literally crushed. Thank you for preparing me for this moment. Yeah, I think we've been talking about this for, I don't know, Jake, a month. Leon Rose was not bending. Leon Rose said, I'll give you 2 unprotected first-round picks. I'm not going to put Grimes in, and I'm not giving you a third. The Jazz, about a month ago with the Knicks, said, hey, okay, well, we need to find a third team. The Knicks went out and found the Lakers, who were willing to include 2 first-round picks in Russell Westbrook's contract. I think very clearly the Lakers and the Jazz have been talking significantly, and what NBA sources are telling me is I'd be looking at the Lakers. I'd also be looking at the Dallas Mavericks here. Mm-hmm. I'd be looking at those 2 clubs as destinations for Conley and Bogdanovich.
And this is what I mean. Danny's just going to keep going. This is classic Danny Ainge. Like Lance Sayers is tweeting at me, saying he's disappointed and saying that, hey, well, the odds that these picks are going to turn into anything is so minuscule. I don't think you're ever going to get there with the picks.
I don't either.
I think Danny said, hey, we're going to do this. Now on Monday, Danny said, hey, the Knicks thing is dead. Let's go back to Cleveland and see what we can get done there, because we like what they have and a deal that we can make there. So let's go ahead and make that deal now that the Knicks thing is dead. And then once we make that deal, let's pick the phone right back up and start calling the Lakers, Dallas, a bunch of these other teams and seeing what we can put together, And that's why I say, I'm telling you guys, Danny is not done. Danny is in a place where he's going to keep operating, and I think that it's number one. I think it's brilliant. I think it's classic Danny Ainge. We saw this in Boston, and you're seeing it in Utah now. So if you're a Jazz fan, I think you have to feel good about what Danny Ainge is doing. He's staying on brand. This is what we expected. I think if you're a Jazz fan, though, you're also uncertain. You're like, hey, like what are we doing moving forward? So again, when you look at these picks and you look at the arsenal that he has to work with, 13 picks is a war chest. I mean, imagine the conversations you can have with that. I would think you're going to call Boston about Jaylen Brown. I would. That's just a guess. That's my opinion. I would think you would call Boston just to see what the price would be. I would think you would call around the league to see what you could get for these picks. So it'll be really interesting to see. But, I think this conversation about Donovan Mitchell's legacy and what he's able to do in Cleveland is crucial. Donovan Mitchell now has to perform. It's no longer good enough to play hero ball and take a bunch of bricks in the postseason.
Well, just talking to my sources at the Utah Jazz while you were running on in a soliloquy, I apologize. Hey, man, you answer the phone when it rings. This was not a trade that Danny Ainge made lightly, and point blank, I was just told by sources at the Jazz that they are far from done, and Danny would like to get another deal or two done this weekend.
Yeah.
And that they believe that they have a deal for Bojan Bogdanovic. The question's going to be, I think there is some emotion around trading Jordan Clarkson. I think they would rather hang on to Jordan. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think Jordan Clarkson brings you a first-round pick.
Definitely.
So the question is, how much do you want for Jordan Clarkson? I truly believe that the LA Lakers are the best place that you're going to be able to end up with Bojan Bogdanovic. And
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The Lakers, I mean, we told you this morning on the show, and we've kind of been talking about it all week, that the Lakers need that corner shooter. They need that guy that can fill that role. And if you go back to the bubble days a couple of seasons ago, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope played that role for the Lakers and played it well and shot them to a title. And that's not an exaggeration. He was a knockdown shooter for them in the postseason. And so I look at the Lakers, and I say Danny wants to do a deal with the Lakers, but he doesn't want to buy out Russell Westbrook. So how do you do that? Well, you make a deal with another team, and then you just do head up bogey for a pick. That's how you do that.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Jordan Clarkson, I think he's a guy that's got tremendous value. I'm having a text conversation with him now, with a guy now, that feels pretty adamant that they have suitors for Jordan Clarkson. Now we'll be seeing. Now I can tell you that one of the things that's very clear here, and I'll get to your comments in a minute. I really appreciate everybody being here, and thank you so much for participating in the show. It's always fun when we get to go live, but I can tell you, I think one of the teams that you should very carefully watch for Jordan Clarkson is the Miami Heat. I think that there is no doubt that Jordan Clarkson could be a big upgrade for them. And I know that Danny has had a lot of conversations with Pat Riley.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would definitely watch out for that. I also happen to think that Jordan Clarkson fits in a heck of a lot of places across the Eastern Conference.
Oh, he's incredibly pliable to many people's rosters. I mean, it's a guy you're going to bring off the bench and give you 20 a night. I mean, that's what you're selling him as. Now, obviously, Jazz fans know that there are some nights where it's an 0 for 10 or an 0 for 11 night for Jordan, but I think there are a lot of nights where he gives you that 30, 40-point performance, and that's what I think is valuable about Jordan Clarkson. And again, I want to keep saying, I think that, through all this conversation, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, be optimistic here. Stay optimistic. We now know, obviously, you just said that we're getting information that the Utah Jazz are not done yet, and that to me is no surprise. I don't think you just make this Donovan deal and sit on this stockpile.
No.
I think the goal is you made the Donovan deal. Now it's time to go and build this roster. Now you're truly moving forward, right? Like Rudy's gone, Don's gone. Now it's time to move forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. Marlon Shaw gives us a $10 tip, says, I have no problem burning it down. Sometimes you have to do that. The worst thing in pro sports today is being middle of the pack. Amen to that. He said it is hard to get out of mediocrity without tanking. And I don't know what tanking looks like. That's the biggest question. I don't know what tanking looks like for the Jazz. Now, Jordan Becquerel gives us a $2 tip, says, solid moves, excited, as you should be. I think you should be excited. Lopes fan Gabe, what's up, Lopes? What's up, Gabe? He says, move over John Stockton. There's a new pasty gangsta in Utah named Danny Ainge. Hey, you're only half joking with that. I mean, I think this is Danny Ainge just having absolutely no conscience about these deals, which is what you need him to do.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
Again, I think I go back to what my sources at the Jazz have told me, that it would be irresponsible not to trade Donovan Mitchell for 3 unprotected first-round picks.
Yep.
It'd be irresponsible. Knowing where this team is and where this team's headed, I can tell you again, and it'll be interesting to hear what comes out. I'm hoping somebody in the Utah media will ask Danny Ainge if Don ever requested a trade. I'm hoping that we will hear from Donovan Mitchell whether or not he ever requested a trade.
Well, we're going to hear from Donovan Mitchell. Now that he's in Cleveland, that you're going to hear, the media is going to ask those questions. But I don't think we'll hear from Danny anytime soon. I think all these moves need to play out. And then once the team is fully done and camp's probably a week away, he'll sit in front of the media and talk about it. That's what I think is probably going to happen.
Yeah. Sean Mierzinski, good morning. He says, don't hate the trade. The only thing I don't understand is all the unprotected picks. Well, I mean, I think there's not much to think about. Don't overthink it. The unprotected picks are 2 things: leverage in a trade to acquire better talent because it's a challenge to get free agents to sign in Utah. So I don't think there's any doubt that if Danny Ainge wants to build this roster through trade, he can absolutely use those unprotected picks to do that. I also think that you can draft very high. You can draft top half of the first round. You can package those picks, get maybe to, the top 5, truly get yourself one of the best players available in the draft. But the issue is that you made a trade with Cleveland and you added Donovan Mitchell to that roster. That makes them an exponentially more dangerous team in the East.
Yep.
Does that mean they win the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't know. I don't think so. But it means that they're going to be a playoff team, which means those picks are not worth as much as they would be, say if you were a bottom feeder team in the East. And I whether you're Orlando or whoever you want to point to, those picks are far more valuable. That's the biggest question. The Knicks picks, in my opinion, would have been worth more because the Knicks are going to be a middle-of-the-table Eastern Conference team. This move for Donovan Mitchell catapults the Cavs to, probably one of the top 5 teams in the East. I would think certainly one of the top 5 teams in the East. I mean, if I had to sit here now and rank them, I would still put Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I think Philly's probably 3rd. Then I think you're probably Cleveland, Chicago,
Boston. Boston's got to be up there.
Boston's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I think you're on the fringe of the top 5 in the East because again, I think if you count Boston, obviously, I mean that's the team that went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
So I still maintain Brooklyn's number 1.
Yeah. I mean, look, the truth is, in my opinion, this team is good enough to beat anybody on any given night. I mean, that's where you are now. Like you have the talent.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think you are. I think that you have the athleticism. I think that you have ability now. Like and again. I'm going to keep saying this too. We don't know what Donovan Mitchell is in a high-octane offense. We've not seen it in his career in the NBA. He has not been allowed to just go and do whatever he wants. He has not been allowed to operate and really be around guys who the defense has to respect. I mean, again, you're talking about, Donovan Mitchell playing with Bojan Bogdanovic and Rudy Gobert. With all due respect to those guys, I would rather be with, Mobley, Jared Allen. I'd rather be with Darius Garland. Like, those are guys that the defense has to respect. And I'm not saying they're outright better players. What I am saying is they're outright better athletes. And I think for Donovan, that's what is going to be absolutely the most valuable thing about this move. And as far as his career, like, again, I just think it's time to perform. There's no more excuses. No more excuses, no more, hey, I can't play defense, none of that. Now you're a big-time star, you're a face of a franchise, not that you weren't before, but now you're in a new place,
I don't know.
Fresh start, dude.
Is Darius Garland the face of the Cavs?
Not anymore. Nope. Donovan Mitchell is. Donovan Mitchell is.
I guess we'll find out. I mean, I think Donovan Mitchell, I think the world of Donovan Mitchell, and I'm curious how people will treat him when he comes back here. M. Morris says Clarkson and Bogey, 2 more first-rounders. Potentially, absolutely, they could dream that. Clarkson back to LA Lakers would be fun to see. I don't know.
Don't miss out on Conley too, though. I don't think Conley really has a place on this team anymore. You know what I mean? Like, this team is just totally different now. I don't know why you'd keep him.
Tanner Plummer says, by the way, I shouted you guys out on Sam Farnsworth's Twitter space.
How'd that work out for you?
He handled it better than the Jazz Nation guys did. LOL. He was like, okay, appreciate that. Darius Markeith says Utah trying to get Victor Wembanyama. I don't think they are.
Mm-mm.
I mean, again, I think they're putting themselves in position to be a facilitator for somebody to get VW. That's my opinion. J2WB Music says Clarkson is a baller. Yes, he is.
Yep.
Angel Flores, Jazz will be contenders for the worst record in the league now.
Nah,
I don't think so.
Nah, I'm telling you guys, don't immediately jump on the 25-win team bandwagon just because ESPN said that's what they were going to do. You got to understand that the Utah Jazz are not done. I'm telling you that, and even if they trade these guys for picks, there is another trade coming at some point before they're done, before training camp starts, where you're going to package like 3 or 4 of these picks to go out and get a game-changing type player, somebody that you can get and acquire who's available that can impact your game on a nightly basis in the starting 5.
Yep. Talking about the breaking news, the Utah Jazz trade Donovan Mitchell to the Cleveland Cavaliers for 3 unprotected first-round picks. They get Markkanen, Agbaji, and they sign in trade for Collin Sexton on a 4-year, $72 million deal. They also get a couple of pick swaps as well. This breaking news brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Get to UtahAdvocates.com. UtahAdvocates.com. Let's keep getting your thoughts in here. Alex Chacon says, package the vets for a young center and some picks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm that interested. I think Jared Vanderbilt's a guy that you need to see play a lot of minutes here.
Yeah.
I want to see what he's like. Ruff's official says Don's drama is gone. What drama did Donovan Mitchell create? That's the question. Like, I hear this a lot. He's a drama queen. What drama is there in Donovan Mitchell? Like, because he has caused no drama. I mean, he's probably caused the most drama by not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
You know, like that. I think that's probably the bigger thing. Mark ZCZ says Cavs versus Wolves is a must watch now.
Yep.
If you're a Jazz fan, it probably is.
Well, and I think again, if you're a basketball fan, like I think there's a lot of matchups here. You know, you've got obviously with Don now being in the East, I think it's fascinating. Like, yeah, what's going to happen when Don comes back home? What's going to happen when Rudy comes back home? What's going to happen when, you know, Don gets to play the Brooklyn Nets regularly and face Kyrie Irving? I don't know. But what I'm here to tell you is dude better be putting up 30 a night. That's what I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think Donovan Mitchell has got to have a monster season for Cleveland. There's no doubt. Rude Boy says they're going to suck for 3-4 years. Just 2 years ago had the best record in the NBA.
Yeah, but what is that good for? I mean, we told you when they had the best record in the NBA, and again, the beauty of YouTube is you can go back and listen to it. Go find it. I mean, we told you that the best record in the NBA doesn't mean anything, bro. Like, the best record in the NBA is a consolation prize in the postseason. Oh, well, we went out in the first round, but hey, remember we had the best record in the NBA this season? Neat. You're old, you're slow, and you're unathletic. And you have a guy in Donovan Mitchell who needs more than that to win. Like it just doesn't mean anything. It's not... That's what I mean. We've been on this message for a long time, and I just think it's. I'm not going to be nice with Don. Like, it's time. I think Donovan Mitchell got what he wanted, right? I think we can definitively say Don got what he wanted, and now it's time. Now it's time to go and show us what you have, and I will be watching him nightly.
One of the guys that I talk to regularly wants to know, how is it possible we're the only ones in Salt Lake City talking about this trade right now?
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, man, is what it is.
I'm not worried about other people. I'm worried about this show. You know what I mean?
Is what it be. Let's see. Avery Forbes says Danny Ainge F the Don up in these trade negotiations. Maybe he did. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to have a huge year. Period. Talking with Raphael podcast
on PBS Radio.
Do you guys see the Jazz on the playoff play-in 7, 8, 9, or 10? Not this year. I think next year. I mean, it depends on what. It also depends on what else Danny does here.
I was going to say I don't think we should answer that yet. I don't think we should even ask that question yet because we don't know what else Danny's doing. I mean, we got information 10 minutes ago that said they weren't done. And I think a lot of people just assume that they're going to go, move Clarkson, move Bogey, and move Mike Conley. But I'm telling you, while that may happen, and I'm sure it will, frankly, I'm waiting. When I say they're not done, I'm waiting for another impact trade, right? I wouldn't call Bogdanovich to the Lakers an impact trade, right? You moved the salary off your roster. You got a pick. Okay, great.
Sure.
That's like right up the Royce O'Neal alley. But what I'm talking about is, hey, you've got, at that point, you probably have like 15, 16 picks. No president of basketball operations who has 15 picks is going to sit on those and wait for the years to go by so he can use them in the draft.
No.
You're going to call people, and you are going to try and make deals happen. I mean, that's just what it is.
But, I mean, if you look at their roster, I mean, here are the guys that I think they trade. Conley, Bogdanovich. Malik Beasley's a very interesting figure now.
Mm-hmm.
Is Malik Beasley a guy you want to keep or a guy you want to trade?
Mm-hmm.
He's got value around the league. I think he's an interesting guy. What are you doing with Rudy Gay? Rudy Gay was a huge problem for this team last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's of no value to you now. I mean, don't you have to move Rudy Gay? You look at Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think you could take or leave Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You're keeping Vanderbilt. You're keeping Agbaji. Fontecchio stays. Kessler stays. Bolmero probably stays. Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson's interesting. I don't know what you do with him. And then there's the great unknown, the enigma of Jared Butler.
Do you see what I mean? Let's not. I don't think we should get too deep into these guys, other than to say, hey, there's a lot of flexibility in these guys. Like, you could take it or leave it on Stanley Johnson. You could take it or leave it on Malik Beasley, Jared Butler. Like, there are a lot of guys here where you could be like, hey, yeah, I'll move this guy for a certain price, obviously. For a good deal, I'll move this guy. So there's nobody that Danny Ainge is married to, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a great point. Sir Knight, WL Gaming gives us $2 to say Ochai is a first-round pick, so Danny did get 4 picks. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely look at it that way.
You could look at it that way.
I mean, you could look at it that way. Yeah, I mean, and I don't even think that's unfair. Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way.
No, William gives us a $5 tip and says, tell me in the next decade, will we be as good as 2 seasons ago when we had the best record? I'll try to trust, but this hurts.
Oh, yeah, you will.
You will.
You will. No doubt about it.
Danny Ainge does not have a track record of building busts. He does not. So I just don't see, I don't see that they're going to be bad for a long time. I really don't. I think,
Don't get, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say that'll make you feel better. Don't get hung up right here. Don't let your mind go to, oh man, we're terrible. We don't have anybody. Right. You don't have anybody right this second. Now, a year from now, you're probably a playoff team. A year
totally
from now,
agree.
You're a playoff team, I think, based on Danny Ainge's behavior so far. 3 years from now, I think you're a Western Conference Finals team, right? That's what I think we're looking at here. And I know, hey, we got to wait and we got to go through this process, but I'm telling you, it is worth your time to wait for Danny Ainge to do his thing and to do his bidding. And I think that Danny Ainge has shown this ability repeatedly. The Celtics, like he won a championship. Then before he left them in position to go win another championship, right? Now they didn't win, but they made an NBA Finals appearance. So I know it's hard to have faith, but what I'm telling you is have faith in it. Believe in the guy. He's showing you the plan, right? He's giving you the ability to say, okay, you did A, B, C, and D. Now I can see what the rest of the alphabet looks like in terms of trades and building the roster and where we're going. And that's why I'm telling you, like, have faith, believe in the guy, and it will come back. It will come back to serve you well. I don't know who that star player is going to be that's going to take you to the promised land. But what I can tell you is David Fizdale, your ass better get moving, right? It's time to go. It's time to develop these guys and get it going. And that, to me, is the most exciting part. Now you've got talent for days to develop. And I think when you do that and you're in control of the money, it's just such a better place to be.
Yeah, and I think no matter what you do or no matter how you do that, I think when you look at what the Utah Jazz are doing now, they're moving in the right direction. Jeff Bevan, I think, actually makes a great point. Zero reason for either Gobert or Mitchell to be booed or treated badly. This isn't a Gordon Hayward or Boozer situation.
No, it's not.
See, I totally agree with that.
It's not.
I totally agree with that. And I think when you look at exactly how Jazz fans have gone about this Gobert Donovan situation, man, I'm telling you that you have I'm not going to say misstated, but I think you have overblown the drama involved in Donovan Mitchell. You have not heard that he's a bad teammate. You have not heard he was a locker room problem. You have not heard that he demanded a trade. You've not heard any of that. Frankly, that was Rudy Gobert. If you were going to boo one of the two, wouldn't you boo Rudy Gobert?
He's the one that sat out the most important game of the season because he's petty. You know?
And I just I wouldn't boo either one of them.
Yeah, I just don't think it's worth your time.
I think they have been very good for this organization. Bevan also says the worst position to be in the NBA is a luxury tax team that is a first-round exit team. Not good enough to win, not bad enough, or have the money to improve. And I just think that's exactly right.
That's precisely where you were, and I think that I think that this is what I'm kind of getting at as far as like how to feel right now if you're a Utah Jazz fan. You got to understand that you went from way over here, luxury tax, first round and out kind of team, to taking all that money down, moving it, And now you're in a position to put your foot on the gas and go again and
Yes.
build a team. That I'm telling you, that concept, you have to get on the train with that concept because that's what's happening here. I understand, again, all due respect, all jokes aside, like I know a lot of these guys you're probably unfamiliar with. A lot of these guys for just like a casual NBA observer, someone who watches it while they make dinner or something in the background, you're not going to know a lot of these guys, and that's okay. Seriously, that's okay because a lot of these guys are going to get moved anyway. I'm telling you, this roster, if you're painting a picture, you're a quarter of the way there right now. You've got the meat of this thing still to build, and I'm telling you, Danny Ainge is going to make an impact trade before this is all said and done. And I don't mean, again, not Bogdanovich, not Conley, not JC. Those guys will get moved, but I'm talking about taking 3 or 4 picks and going and chasing somebody, whether that's out of Miami, maybe you look at Dallas, maybe there's another team, but I'm just telling you there's another deal that's going to come before training camp, and I think that's the one I'd be looking for.
Yeah, I just hope that this does not make Donovan Mitchell a villain.
Yeah, I
think he deserves better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a guy that, well, come on, Eugene. Eugene says the Jazz need to retire Donovan's jersey 45.
Nah, we're not doing that.
I think you're probably being sarcastic, but he's not a villain. Donovan Mitchell has not tried to wedge his way out of here. You have a very soft, apologetic media making up rumors that he and CAA had a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. Well, how does that look now that he didn't go to the New York Knicks? How does it look now that everybody said, oh, well, Donovan Mitchell was conniving behind the scenes? Like, how does that all look now?
Yeah.
Because it didn't happen.
Yeah, it never happened. Completely made up.
I just think it's one of these things where you have to respect what Donovan Mitchell did for this franchise. You have to respect for what Rudy Gobert did for this franchise. They deserve that at the very least, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So when you want to vilify these guys, Rudy's not a villain. Don's not a villain. And I don't believe that this is anything like Gordon Hayward, who, by the way, I would vilify Gordon Hayward. I think he was very unapologetic. I think it was very disingenuous, Like, I think he misled you.
Yeah.
Vilify Gordon Hayward. Don't vilify Donovan Mitchell. It just makes no sense at all, in my opinion, to go about it that way. Bob the accountant said, Mitchell became a social justice warrior, and I'm glad he's leaving. Great day for the Jazz. So why does that make him a villain? Why is fighting for what you believe in, speaking your mind, using your freedoms to talk about the things that you think need to be talked about when you have one of the largest platforms in the state of Utah? Why does that make him a villain? Bob, I'm just curious what does that mean? That's what I've never understood about Donovan Mitchell is Donovan Mitchell wanted to talk about critical race theory in schools. He is a strong black man. He is a guy with probably the largest following in the state.
Mm-hmm.
This is something he's passionate about. Why wouldn't he do that? Why would Donovan Mitchell stay silent when in his heart he wants to speak about these things? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Let's see. Jaden Carrera says, Bob, LOL.
Yeah.
Let's see. Asgil says, let's talk about the Don fit for the Cavs. Going to be awesome with 2 scoring guards and 2 big defensive studs to cover the defensive mess. I think there's some interest in that. I look at their cap situation, and I think they need small tweaks now. I think Donovan Mitchell is absolutely a game changer for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, when you look at what the very best of the Cleveland Cavaliers is, and this is why I think it never made sense to me that he was going to be a fit with Miami. I mean, it was an easy fit in New York, but in Cleveland, he's with Kevin Love, Jared Allen. Kevin Love's still one of the better rebounding bigs in the league. Jared Allen, one of the best shot blockers in the league. Karis LeVert's going to be a great bench player for them. Darius Garland's a stud. Evan Mobley's a stud. C.D. Osman, I think, is an energy guy, and he does a lot of different things. I think Isaac Okoro is a guy you should be upset you didn't get in this deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that's the question of, what do you need in this deal? Isaac Okoro's the guy that I would have liked to have seen the Jazz pick up in this deal because I actually think he's valuable. But if you look at the rest of this roster, I mean, you have savvy guys that we all know well: Ricky Rubio, Raul Neto, Robin Lopez is still on that team. Like, you look at they're veteran, they're experienced, they have active guys, they can rebound, they play defense. I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be able to score at the level of Brooklyn.
No.
I'm curious, how do they match up with Boston? That's how does Donovan Mitchell match up with a Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting question. I think that, the matchup portion's tough because we know Cleveland likes to run. So you're not, and this is kind of the point I've been trying to make over the last couple of weeks. Like, Donovan Mitchell's not in a half-court offense anymore. Like, we all understand that, right? The Utah Jazz tried to play transition offense, tried to go 3-and-D, tried to be the team that shot 43s a game to win a ball game, and that's why they inevitably couldn't get the job done. Whereas Cleveland is a team that gets out and runs and is trying to get to the rack. That's a completely different style, and it allows you to be in a position where you have flow, you have options, you have like the ability to score in like 3, 4, 5 different ways. And I just think that I do think Donovan's going to thrive in Cleveland. I do think that Cleveland, while I'm not sure that they're Eastern Conference Finals capable, I do think they're win a series, push a second series to 7 games capable. Absolutely, no doubt about it. And the last thing I want to point out is, looking at Twitter here, this is an amazing thing that I think Jazz fans should really, to put this into perspective. The Jazz turned Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell into Collin Sexton, Malik Beasley, Leandro Barmaro, Ochai Agbaji, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, Lauri Markkanen, THT, Stanley Johnson, and then 7 first-round picks and 3 first-round swaps. This is Danny Ainge. That's why I'm saying don't be upset right now. Understand where you are and where you're going. You still have time. There's still a month to go till camp. He's got time.
Yeah, and I am very certain that he is not just sitting here, scheming to get the first overall pick. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I'm not on that train either.
Greg Hawkins, good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks for the $5 tip. He says, Ryan Smith playing 4D chess. This is a win for Ryan Smith.
Yes, it is.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'll be interested to see what they do at the deadline, because there's still that desire for them to have an all-star in the all-star game. I mean, you are hosting the all-star game. We are watching, as they are doing renovations at the arena, at Vivint Arena, all new scoreboards, video boards, ribbon boards going in. You're looking at the renovations that are required by the NBA to upgrade that building. To not have a Jazz guy there, to me, would be just, it would almost be tragic.
Yeah.
You need that, in my opinion.
Yes. So
for my money, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. I mean, the deadline is before the All-Star game. After the turn of the first of the year, are you going to make a deal to bring yourself an all-star? Well, you have a ton of draft picks to do that, and you have a ton of prospects in the 2023 NBA draft, arguably one of the deepest drafts in the history of the NBA is coming up in 2023. So Danny's got flexibility to do what he wants, and Greg Hawkins, I agree with you. I think this is a big tip of the cap for Ryan Smith, because it takes balls, frankly, to trade Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and Royce O'Neal. Those are 3 favorite sons on that previous era of Jazz basketball.
Absolutely.
Because, by the way, as we've said now for a while, this brings to an end an era of Jazz basketball.
Yeah.
The Don and Rudy era is officially over in Utah. So this is history. This is time and space that you have to remember. And I just think it's going to be very interesting. B. Davey says, the real win of this trade is we get a midday live stream to get us through the afternoon. Well,
my man. You see, we're working over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the way, I should say this midday live stream, you only get this because of our good friends at the Advocates. Your injury attorneys, go to UtahAdvocates.com. Newest sponsor on the show. We announced it this morning. Thanks to the Advocates for picking us up and really supporting the show and joining with people like Barbecue Pit Stop, Devery Davis and the Davis Lending Team at Academy Mortgage, like Wayman Brothers Construction. We have so much support. We really appreciate it. That's what makes midday live streams when Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
By the way,
possible.
did you take your Papa Murphy's pizza out the oven yet while you listen to the live stream? Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. Papa Murphy's pizza. You order Papa Murphy's tonight to celebrate. You're going to get it this weekend over the holiday weekend. Monty25, MONTY, Monty25 is that promo code for you guys to use. Giggity says, where's my football at 50? Yeah, it's on a plane to Hawaii.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Giggity? Code says the Jazz will have an all-star if Donovan Mitchell and Gobert make the all-star team. Well, the crowd will be cheering for them, no doubt about that. Utah Living says Jazz need to go after Simmons, the most overlooked top 10 potential in the NBA.
Oh,
well,
man.
Now, I mean, you don't have a rookie designated contract, so that market's wide open.
I don't love that for the Utah Jazz. I have to be honest.
Well, Ben Simmons is in a prove-it year.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is in a prove-it year.
That might be true, but it's not the kind of culture you need here.
Let's see. Asgill says, Lucid, I'm saying I'll be pissed if he's good all of a sudden.
Donnie? You're talking about?
Donnie's going to be...
Bro, the Donnie Doppler is at an all-time high right now. I mean, the guy's going to light it up. You need to understand that. Like, he's going to... I would not be surprised if Donovan Mitchell, was just a no doubt about it, no-brainer, like, second-team All-NBA guy. Like, I would not be surprised, dude. The guy is that good offensively.
Yep, I would agree. Let's see. Macho Man!
Brother
says nothing but love for DM. I wish him the best. Amen to that. Mr. E says Danny is such a wizard that we forgot to mention he traded Buckets O'Bench for a first-round pick. That might be his biggest steal in the history of steals.
Buckets O'Bench.
Yeah, Gabriel Fonseca says Ainge was on tilt from Knicks giving RJ a contract. See, I just don't think so, and I know that a lot of Knicks fans disagreed with me on this, but I've heard for 6 weeks. I heard back at the trade deadline when the Knicks offered R.J. Barrett at this past trade deadline.
Yeah.
They offered R.J. Barrett to the Jazz, and the Jazz just wouldn't even have the conversation at that point. And then when you got into this, I just don't think Danny Ainge wanted to pay R.J. Barrett. I mean, you look at what they're paying Collin Sexton, $19 million a year is a bargain in this league. I mean, it's 4 years. That's not a lot of money. 4 years and $72 million is not a lot of money for a guard. And I think Collin Sexton is great. I think RJ Barrett's a hell of a player, but I just don't think Danny wanted to pay him. And
hell no.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, an NBA guy, who said, I agree. He's not a superstar.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's not a superstar player. I don't need a superstar if I'm going to pay him $19 million.
Yeah.
And that's what they're paying Collin Sexton. So
yeah.
I just think it was a win-win all the way around. I really like the deal.
Completely. Yeah.
Lopes fan Gabe says, with this Jazz Cavs deal, who finishes higher in the East next season, Cleveland or Minnesota? Jake, go ahead. That's a reference to Jake one time on the show misspeaking, saying that the Cavs were in the Eastern Conference.
In my eyes, he's the greatest to ever do it.
William for $2 says, what years are the picks? Did we win the trade? Much love to DM. Well, I mean, win the trade.
I don't, to be honest with you, man, I don't think it's a win or loss thing. I truly, obviously you can look at it that way, but in my estimation, I don't think it's a win or loss thing. I think it's a you did what you had to do type deal. I mean, if you, and I don't know if you're just joining or how much info you've seen on Twitter, but the story goes that the Knicks and the Jazz were done on Monday. That Danny turned down a deal that was not what he wanted, and at that point, the two teams had kind of moved on from each other. And Danny's thought was, hey, let's go back to the Cavs and try to put something together. And so now we're here. Now they've done the deal. And so to me, it's more of less of a win-loss thing and more of a, hey, is this a good enough bridge to get to where we need to go? And I certainly believe it is. I think you've got a nice little group of players here. A lot of people on Twitter will tell you that this team is garbage, but what they're not telling you is that this is not the team the Jazz are going to roll out with when training camp starts. I think a lot of these guys will be here, but I'm telling you, like the vets, the Conleys, the Bogies, the JCs are all going to be gone. And I think that it's really a matter of who's that next big name that the Jazz get via this just war chest of picks.
And just DMing now with one of the NBA guys that I talk to on a regular basis. He said the 2027 and 2029 picks are the ones that could be valuable because he makes a great point. Donovan Mitchell's 3 years under contract here. So we'll see how that turns out. By the way, those picks that you asked me about, unprotected picks to Utah in 2025, 27, 29, pick swaps in 26 and 28. They have 13 unprotected or lightly protected first-round picks.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yes.
That's unbelievable to have that many picks. And then, I wonder, how does Donovan Mitchell impact Evan Mobley? That's a huge question if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. I am curious how Donovan Mitchell impacts Evan Mobley.
You would think he'd make him better.
You would think so.
And that's kind of my point. When we talk about, how would they match up with Brooklyn, or how would they match up with Boston? I think that Evan Mobley, while I'm not certainly saying that he can stay in front of Kevin Durant, or really that anybody could stay in front of Kevin Durant, I do think he could make life difficult on a Jason Tatum. I think he could make life difficult on really any of these 6'8", 6'10" guys who are 3-4 hybrids, that kind of guy. He can guard that kind of guy in addition to his center. I think Donovan's defense is going to be a point of emphasis for this team. I think it's a great point when we talk about, hey, now you're on a team that is a little bit smaller, and you've been on a team that's smaller, frankly, and your defense wasn't good enough. But now if you're Donovan Mitchell, don't you feel like, hey, this is my shot. I have to lay it all out there.
I just think, and I'm surprised we're not hearing more from, let's see, Jeff Bevins says Collin Sexton jersey buyer he is. I like that. I'm really surprised there's T-Money. I was going to say we're not hearing from more Knicks fans. T-Money says he wasn't getting that from Rose. I'm not mad at all. I don't think you should be mad at all. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you 100 P. I think this is one of those defining deals for Leon Rose. The fact that he did not do this deal is like a trade in itself.
Yes.
And I think when you look at what the Cleveland Cavaliers paid for Donovan Mitchell, 3 unprotected first-round picks, that's a lot of cash. And really, if you count Agbaji, you're giving up 4 first-round picks. That's a ton to get Donovan Mitchell. And pick swaps in the future. Danny Ainge, I just don't know how, if you're a Jazz fan, you're not excited about this trade.
Well, and the contrast of Dennis Lindsey and Justin Zanuck to Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck is very clear, and that's why I say, when Woj is tweeting out that Justin Zanuck is making these calls, you need to understand that Justin Zanuck is just a puppet in this whole thing. Danny Ainge is the one, sending the orders, driving the ship, telling Justin what to do. And I think that while publicly they work together, I believe in my heart of hearts that Danny Ainge is the one doing all this.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. Danny Ainge is the architect of these deals, and I just don't think there's any doubt that he's the one working. Lauri Markkanen's a very nice pickup here. Lauri Markkanen's a guy that's a veteran who can contribute now. And by the way, he's a Ute. So, that's a very good fit.
About it. Yeah.
Ochai Agbaji is a really high-level prospect. You add him to Walker Kessler. You add him to Jared Vanderbilt. You look at the depth of young talent on this roster, and you still have Mike Conley. You still have Bojan Bogdanovic. I'm not certain that they're going to trade Jordan Clarkson. I'll be interested to see. Is he a guy that you would give if he's here, he's starting, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What is your starting 5 right now? I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it really depends. Yeah. I again, that's another one where I'm like, man, that's really hard to answer right now because I'm just telling you 100% they're not done yet. And I think that, you're going to trade these guys. I agree with you. JC is somewhere in the middle. He may be here. He may not. If he's here, great. He'll start. I totally agree. But I just wonder, okay, once you get done and you're at that place where you have all the picks accumulated. You're at, because if you think they're going to get a first rounder for Bogey, maybe a second rounder for Conley, whatever the case may be, you've got all these picks, right? You're bringing all the chips back into you. You've just won the poker hand. What do you do with all of those? That is my question for Danny Ainge. What is the game plan? I don't care about a Bogdanovich trade. I don't care about the Conley trade. Those are almost matter of fact going to happen whether we like it or not. I want to know what Danny Ainge's first step to take this team to 10 wins better, 20 wins better. What does that look like? That's what I want to know after this Donovan trade.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that is so, man, that's a huge haul. That is a huge haul.
This is by far the most important offseason the Jazz have ever had, and I hope Jazz fans, you realize that. Because this is
Man.
the first time I can legitimately say, and again, beauty of YouTube, go back and look. We've been telling you that Rudy Don team was never going to win a championship. Never going to happen. We told you that.
And I see a lot of people commenting us on this deal, or talking about what we've said about this deal. Again, I like your point. It's all on YouTube. Danny Ainge was asking for 4 first-round picks and was willing to take 3. What did he get in this deal? He got 3 first-round picks plus Agbaji, and he got 4 first-round picks, and he took 3 that he's going to be able to leverage or pick on his own.
Correct.
I feel pretty good about it. I think it's one of those things where this is a win. Let's see. Darshana Ben-Hur says, did you know that the 2021 and 2022 most outstanding player, of the NCAA tournament are on the Jazz? Agbaji and Jared Butler.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what you do with Jared Butler. Let's hope Agbaji's better than Butler, because Jared Butler has been terrible.
Yeah, brutal.
He has been a loss for this team. Nick Draper, good afternoon. What's up? He says, to all the Jazz fans complaining, consider us lucky we got returns for all of our stars this time around instead of seeing them walk for nothing.
Facts.
There you go. That could be. T Money says, thank you, Monty. Please tell that to your ignorant listeners. Oh, you're talking about the Knicks. I'm telling you now. I am telling you now that this deal for the Knicks is a win.
Yeah.
This deal, you still have all of your young talent. You still have all of your unprotected picks.
You're fine. You're good. You made a decision, and now you're going to live with it. And by the way, again, that the Knicks I would look at as a team that aren't done either. And that's what I'm saying. Danny Ainge has dominated this summer, like dominated. He has dictated to the league what's going to happen and what's not. And he's still doing it. And that's why I say
it's crazy.
I just, whether you're a Knicks fan or maybe you're a Brooklyn fan or a Boston fan, any of those teams in the Northeast, like, you guys are just sitting on ice waiting to see how all this plays out. And then you're going to go and make your deals. And that's what I think is nuts, that for the first time in really, I mean, in recent memory, in the last 10, 15 years, the Utah Jazz are in control, bro. That's crazy.
Let's see. A lot of people are pointing out that Markkanen played at Arizona. My bad. That is correct. My bad. I said Utah. I'm a terrible human. James Jensen says, what will be the Jazz potential future look like after all is said and done? I don't know.
Well, how far into the future are you talking? Because I think that NBA, this organization has NBA Finals written all over it 5 years from now. I really do. I think that 2 years from now, you're scraping into the postseason. 3 years from now, you're a Western Conference Finals team. And then I think that 4th and 5th year, you're competing for championships.
I agree. A $5 tip from William. He says, one last tip for going live right away and bringing us peace of mind. I was wrong. I thought old duo could win. What path to a chip look like now? I think you're going to have to take these picks and turn them into superstars.
Yeah, you're going to have to be patient. I think that's the first thing I'd say. You're going to have to be patient, but from a basketball perspective, yeah, you have a war chest of assets now and all of these picks, and you have some nice players, and I think you're going to take those assets, you're going to move them, and the only real question that's left is, what are you going to be when you're done? That's what we can't answer right now, because frankly, I don't know. We have some information that says, as far as JC is concerned, that you've got teams like Miami and Dallas and all the classic teams we've heard that are talking to the Utah Jazz, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the weekend or maybe even before that, you hear of a Bogdanovich trade, you hear of a Conley trade. I would love to see JC stay on this team for the next couple of seasons and really get a shot to start again, but I highly doubt that's going to happen because other teams are going to demand that he's involved in these deals.
How did Danny do this, man?
Oh, he's a savage.
I mean,
complete and utter
unbelievable.
savage. Complete and utter savage. I mean, everyone wondered how the Rudy Gobert deal got done. I don't think the story of Tim Conley was told enough. Tim Conley was at the Nuggets, was within the Nuggets organization when Rudy Gobert got traded. He then left the Nuggets organization and went to Minnesota to be the head man there. Danny took complete advantage of that because he knew that Conley coveted Rudy Gobert. And now we're here. So it's just insane.
Marlon Shaw gives us $5 and said, retiring from Florida back to Idaho in 3 years. Just in time to watch the Jazz go to the finals. Awesome to look forward to. I think, and this is why I just keep saying I would not call this a tank.
Yeah.
I just think calling this a tank is the
a
wrong
rebuild
way to,
is fair. Rebuild is fair. Hey, I'm with it, but a tank I can't get down with.
Caleb says, not a chance, Jake. Are you drafting KD, Westbrook, and Harden in consecutive years?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know
what
you
is
mean.
that? What is that? What do you...
Yeah, Asgill says Sexton at 4 years, $72 million is a good deal. Thoughts there? I think it's a great deal.
Yeah.
I think I think he is at $19 million a year, and this is why we told you. I think I even tweeted this. The Jazz were not interested in Sexton and Okoro in one first-round pick.
Yeah,
which is what the Cavs had offered originally, which is why that deal didn't happen. If you give them this package of players, I absolutely think the Jazz are interested, clearly.
Yeah.
I think Sexton for 4 and 72 is a real win.
Oh, and I think again, you have to remember when we look at these players and these contracts and the situations, just remember, when Dennis Lindsey was here, you had bad money on top of bad club control. Because that's the big thing in the league and really in sports, generally speaking, in the 1,000-foot view. Is this guy really expensive for 1 year, or is he affordable for a long time? And usually the level of talent and their superstardom are comparative to that. So if you're paying a guy 1 year, to be here and to contribute, and then you're moving on, okay, great. This is the Jimmy G thing, right, with the 49ers. We're going to pay him 1 year, then we're going to allow him to move on or whatever, right? I look at this Collin Sexton deal, and I say, hey, it's 4 years, it's $72 million on a yearly basis. You're not really taking a heavy hit, and this is a guy that can make plays and furthermore can play elite defense. This is someone who really worked his ass off on defense. So I think, when we talk about culture, when we talk about team dynamic, when we talk about what's the identity of this Utah Jazz team, I think you're going to see a lot of energy, and I do think you're going to see a lot of defensive effort. And the one name no one's talking about right now is Will Hardy. How does Will Hardy feel about this? What is Will Hardy going to do with this team? And
You're gonna find
that,
out.
I think you should be excited about.
You're going to find out. I mean, you really are you're going to find out. By the way, Nick Smith says Sunday, November 14th, Cavs versus Minnesota. Yeah,
What's the over-under on Donovan posterizing Rudy? Does it happen?
I think he's going to try.
You have to try, don't you?
Yeah, he's going to try. T-Money says if Sexton is healthy enough to produce close to 2 years, he's a good pickup. I agree. And that, T-Money, I agree with you. I think his health is absolutely the right. That's exactly the right place to be thinking. I don't think there's any doubt. Mike Z says JC for Davion Mitchell, pick and a filler. I mean, is Sacramento interested in that? We'll see. Jackson Graham says the Cavs greater than ?
Who are the Cavs better than? I think that's
Bulls.
an interesting question.
I think this moves them past the Bulls.
You're better than Atlanta, in my opinion.
No.
Yes, dude. They are better than Atlanta. You are better than Atlanta. Look at me crazy.
Dude.
Look at me crazy. They are deeper than Atlanta. They are better than Atlanta, I'm telling you.
Atlanta's going to be very good. I don't have any doubt about that. Just looking at the way they're built, I have man. That's really tough to say.
I think they're deeper. I think they've got more guys who are more athletic. Obviously it's Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, but I think that Donovan cancels out Trae Young.
Are they better than Miami?
That's tight. It depends on the night who shoots it better, in my opinion. Honestly.
Well, and I guess it's what makes who better. I mean, if you look at Miami's roster, I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler, but I just don't know.
Like Bam versus Jared Allen is not as far away as people think.
No, but are you a fan of Tyler Hero's the problem in Miami, man? Like I just keep saying this about Tyler Hero. Like I'm fine with Jimmy, Bam, even Kyle Lowry. But you forget about Victor Oladipo, right? What do you say about Duncan Robinson? He's terrible.
Yeah, he needs to go.
Caleb Martin, that's a utility player. That's a bench guy, right? Tyler Hero, to me, is the real question here. I mean, I just don't know what you make of him. Like Max Strus looks like he has had a tremendous summer, but is Max Strus at his best? I think Cleveland's better than Miami.
Yeah.
I think Cleveland's better than Miami. I mean, when I look at it, the real question is, how good is Brooklyn? How good is Brooklyn? And what do you expect out of Ben Simmons? Because with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton, I think absolutely is a guy that has tremendous value.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely better than Cleveland.
Seth Curry,
Brooklyn's
Patty
better
Mills.
than Cleveland, yeah, for sure.
But I look at the Bulls. Are the Chicago Bulls better than Cleveland?
I don't think so.
Zach LaVine's never healthy. That's and when he is, he's unbelievable. But DeMar, I mean, Vucevic is. Trust me when I say he's a B player.
Jared Allen, all day over Vuce.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball's not shown any ability in this league to stay healthy.
Yeah,
Not
Kobe White is a bench contributor.
Not even a little bit. And I mean, obviously, I would assume it was a guy that you're bringing along. But I don't know what Patrick Williams is. Andre Drummond's a really nice pickup. Bringing back Derrick Jones Jr. was a really nice decision. They don't have a true superstar on that team. They don't, and they paid Zach to be a star, and that's a guy. He's going to have knee surgery again. I guarantee it. And I hope I'm wrong. You know who I wonder about? What about the Charlotte Hornets? You look at.
That's what I mean. The East is now very exciting, right? Even without the Minnesota Timberwolves, the East is exciting.
I mean, how good is Terry Rozier?
Nothing for me on that.
I'm not.
Even without the Timberwolves,
I'm not
the
going
East
to
is
continue.
exciting.
I'm not.
Bro,
I was
was
trying not
funny,
to continue.
dude. That was funny.
It was funny, but I'm not. Anyway.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
it's all right.
My bad.
What's going on with guys like James Bouknight in Charlotte? What's going on with, how good is Terry Rozier? Is Gordon Hayward going to contribute? Is Gordon Hayward going to be there? The answer is I think the East is incredibly deep. And still, by the way, there's other teams that you still have to contend with. I mean, you look around the West, you look around this entire league.
Yeah.
There are teams that are enigmas.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Pelicans come to mind.
Well,
What are the New Orleans Pelicans?
You know what I'm going to say.
Well, yeah, but CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram,
They're
those guys offset Zion.
Dude, they're going to be good. My question is, what is Zion Williamson? He is a massive question mark for you. Not from hey, is he in shape? I think he's in incredible shape. There would be no other reality. But my question is, what is he as a basketball player? We've seen I think he's played, 20 or 30 games in the league, maybe?
Yeah.
We just haven't seen enough yet.
But I think these are all very valid questions. And so I go back to, Leon Rose. Do you think Leon Rose is just going to sit on his hands and
Hell
pound?
no. Hell no.
I mean, he's got assets. I think I think the Cavs are better than the Knicks with Donovan Mitchell on the roster.
Yes.
I think they're a better team than the Knicks.
No, dude, I think Look, I guess I'll go higher on the Cavs than maybe you will, but I think that the Cavs can win a playoff series and then push a second one to 7 games. I think that they're that good.
I don't know, man.
And I think obviously it depends on the matchup you get, but I think they're that good.
Listen, I look at your take on Atlanta.
Yeah.
I just think you're completely wrong on Atlanta. I think Atlanta with Trae Young, and I don't know, do they trade John Collins? I don't know. But I look at Trae Young, John Collins, Bogdanovich, DeJounte Murray, obviously, DeAndre Hunter. They're good.
But
they are very, very good.
Here's my thing. DeAndre Hunter, we know that he is a good defender. He's coming along offensively, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that Darius Garland's a killer. I know that Evan Mobley is excellent in the mid-range and a problem for defenses matchup-wise. So when I think about those two guys with Donovan, and then I look at Okoro, I just feel like they're going to be good defensively. And I'm telling you, if Donovan does not step up defensively, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb on this team.
I don't know. If they're going to win a first-round series, they better have home court advantage, and that's going to require them to be top 4.
Dude, you really don't like this team, do you? You don't think they're that good?
If they're going to win a first-round series, everybody has to take a big step forward. And I just don't see them think about what's the difference in a 4-5? What's the difference in a 1-8?
Well, it's matchups for them. I mean, yeah, home court matters obviously, but it's matchups and who they get and who they run into.
But if you're a 4-5 and you're running into a Brooklyn, or if you're running into a Boston, or if you're running into a Milwaukee, I mean,
obviously expectations change. But you obviously have more teams that you can run into. I mean, I think, like if you run into Atlanta in the first round, I think you beat Atlanta in a 7-game series. If you run into, hell, like let's say you ran into Charlotte, let's say, not that that'll probably happen, but let's say you ran into a team like that, you're going to beat them, Like Toronto is really interesting to me. What is Toronto? If you run into Toronto, that's a really interesting series. So that's why I say, yeah, if they run into one of the best teams in the East, all right, yeah, maybe they lose that first-round series. But if you run into anybody other than like the top 3, Brooklyn, Boston, and Milwaukee, you have a good shot of winning that series. And again, this is where we part ways. I think if you run into Philly, you have a chance. I'm not saying it's a great chance, but I think they have a chance to push Philly. And Philly has shown a propensity. And I know James Harden is in shape, career year, guy's going to be Jesus Christ this season. I get it. They have not shown the ability to win the big game. They were losing to Atlanta. Let's keep it in perspective. Yeah. So
Isaiah says the scary thing is Mobley can easily become their best player.
Yeah. I know, because he has size and athleticism. That's what's gnarly.
And he can shoot.
But again, and this is what we've been talking about while Donovan was a Jazz man, you have to turn into that. It's cool that you have the potential, but as you said the other day, potential is the dirtiest word in the league. Great, you have potential, but show me you have it in your bag.
Yeah. Scott Howard says, Monty, you said on the show you wouldn't include Grimes if you were Rose, but changed your tune the last couple of shows saying you would. What made you change your mind? Because, and I'm actually sitting here talking with somebody about that, and that is that I think it became untenable when if it was just Quentin Grimes that was the problem, I would do that to get Donovan Mitchell. But Danny Ainge was asking for Quickly, Grimes, and I think he would have taken Toppin. But he wasn't doing this deal without Quickly and Grimes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not surprised by that. Now that you know what he got from Atlanta, I'm not surprised by that. Or Cleveland, excuse me. You know what he got from Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that the conversation is, for the Knicks right now, if you're sitting here right now and you're looking at this, how do you feel about the fact that you didn't do this deal and you're in the same position you were, right? Like so there are some Knicks fans who are going to say, "Oh, well, this was a terrible deal for the Knicks. So glad that they didn't do the deal." Other Knicks fans are going to say, "Hey, man, yeah, understand why we didn't do the deal, but we're still the same team we were, and now we're more expensive."
Collin Sexton, or Emmanuel Quickly?
Quickly.
Agbaji or Grimes? I think that's Agbaji. Come on.
Yeah, I think you have to go with Agbaji, but
just on health alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Alex Chacon says, I'd rather have Agbaji than Grimes.
Yeah.
T-Money says, I agree, Monty. Cleveland's now better than the Knicks.
Yeah.
Justin Kobusinski. They need a different center other than Capella. They do. That's why if I'm Atlanta, I'm not trading John Collins. I'm not doing that.
Wow.
No, thank you. Jose Crown says the quote, we are building around Donovan guys. All right, so you mean Woj as well? Or, I mean, how do you not trade Donovan Mitchell? Look what he got from Cleveland.
Okay. What did we really say? Let me, if you want to quote history, let's make sure we quote all of history, right? The quote, they're going to build around Donovan guys, also said, hey, they're going to build around Donovan unless they get a massive haul in a package of picks and players. Well, what happened today? They traded him for one player? No, they traded him for picks and players and a deal that really made sense for the organization. So don't misremember history.
How do you turn this trade down?
Do we need to go back and look at what Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell turned into? Do I need to reread the list?
And the difference is the guy pulling the strings is different too.
I mean, come on, man. I
mean, Danny Ainge is. There's no other way than to say the guy's a gangster. Like, he is dominating the NBA.
Look, I get we all love to serve crow sandwiches, but this is not one you're going to get to serve. I mean, we haven't been wrong on this, and we are very, very accountable to when we are wrong on this show. We've said it multiple times in the past. We have not been wrong on this, and we've been steadfast on our messaging.
Pudge says, deal is finally over. Thanks for the content, Monty and Son. Oh, Pudge, I hope we see you soon. Let's see. Jeff Bevan says, curse words. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, look, I get it. I get it, but I'm just telling you with this conversation, not to repeat everything I just said, but look forward. Don't be mad about now. Look forward.
Let's see. Luke Cardona, actually, he has Sergeant Stripes as a icon. Thanks for your service. Appreciate that. Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Miami, etc. I think the East is deeper than people give them credit for. I do. Justin also says they got Rubio and Love coming off the bench. They've got chemistry for a 3rd seed. Well, I mean, chemistry is important.
They do have chemistry. Absolutely.
Ask Brooklyn about chemistry. There's no doubt about that. Mike C says Cavs will be good, but look how great they can be in 2 years. Yeah? Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Jeff Bevan says, to bag sports media guys for changing their tune is hilarious. What an immature, ridiculous move. Okay. I don't disagree with you on that. Hope for the best for DM. We'll root for the Cavs and Wolves this year after the Jazz, of course. Dop Hop says, yeah, I agree with that. Brennan Goodsell says it's just a matter of time before JC, Mike, and Bojan are out of here too. Yeah, it is.
Yep.
I think I know that they have a deal they could make with the Lakers on Bojan. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. T-Money. Monty, you were doing okay, but Agbaji is not better than Grimes.
It's debatable.
It is.
It's debatable. I mean, there's a lot of conjecture and opinion in that. But, again, that's not really the balls of this trade. I mean, if we're being honest, like, you know, if you're obviously it depends who your team is. If you're the Knicks, I think you still have a lot of options out there. And that ultimately, I think, is why Leon didn't do the deal, because you have a lot of options. So, I mean, whether Agbaji is better than Grimes, okay, you can have that conversation if you want. But I just think that Grimes is valuable. And I think, by the way, Grimes is only as good as you develop him into. You know what I mean? Again, potential is the dirtiest word in the league. Like, it's cool that the guy has potential, but what does he actually turn into?
By the way, one of my guys sent me the image of that you showed me earlier. Nike released Donovan Mitchell's Jazz jersey today in the store officially. Good luck. Jeff Evans says, seriously. Jeff Evans, hello, comment dump. Chance K says, what do you think we could get for Bojan from the Lakers? I think there's no doubt that you could get a first-round pick.
Yep.
I think there's no doubt about that.
Add it to the ledger.
Yep. Jeff Bevan says, Bogey is a trade deadline move. Very valuable to a contender expiring deal. Big man that can shoot. He is very valuable at that point. Could be.
I think it's sooner than that, my man. I think he's someone that's gone this weekend, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's going to be here very long.
Yo Jimbo puts a number 6, then an S, an I, and an X. Okay. Appreciate the effort. Chance K says, what do you think we could get for Bojan from the Lakers? I read that one, sorry. Caleb says, people who haven't played are better than the GOAT Grimes now. I'm sick. Well, I think Grimes has an injury history that worries you. I agree. That, you know what, I should probably say, let's see what Agbaji turns into. But, I mean, Quentin Grimes is a guy who, I mean, he's been a pretty good player, and he's played in the league. He just hasn't played a lot because of the injuries. So we'll see. Austie says, I just, quote unquote, love that I can still root for Donovan now because it ended up in New York City, no bueno, but him as an individual I would root for regardless of any team he finished on. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Brett Robbins says, Sexton and Laurie are borderline all-stars. It might be a rebuild, but they actually got some solid players right now and still got Conley and Bojan who could potentially get another young guy or asset. True.
Totally.
I mean, Collin Sexton could show up here and be an all-star this year. I mean, he's going to have the ball constantly.
Yep.
Constantly.
Yep.
Marilyn Newrin. Mary Lynn, okay. Danny will still get more picks this week. Remember, it's a holiday weekend. We were driving to a meeting this morning. And then on the way back home, I'm pretty sure I said, holiday weekend, NBA trades happen on holiday weekends.
Yes, they do.
When did Rudy get traded?
Holiday weekend.
4th of July. July 1st he got traded. JJ47K said, or Scott Howard said, I understand that. Smart not to give up the farm, but Grimes held it up. Shake my head. Dude averaged 6 points last year.
Yeah, but
I think it's the top end.
We have to have more visibility than a young guy averaged 6 points last year. I mean, you got to be able to look forward and look at what the guy can be. You know, again, as I just said, potential is a dirty word, but deals get done on potential all the time. I mean, that's what the Rudy deal was. That's what this deal was. You got to understand that.
Kayla Ann says, Monty, I'm a big fan. I appreciate you, Kayla. I'm a big fan of yours, too. Thank you for being here. Stop. BB says, Victor Wembanyama, here we go. Or are these young guys secretly good? I don't know that you ever get to the number 1 spot.
Yeah, that's a real convenient argument that people are going to make. I wouldn't listen to that.
Let's see. Charles Evans says, will Coburn Cockburn... It's a guy's show. We say Cockburn.
Yeah, casual.
And will Cockburn and No, I can't say it without laughing. Will Coburn and Sexton both be in the starting lineup? No, I think Jared Vanderbilt starts. We'll see, though. Who knows? Yo, Jimbo, Sexton will have a better year than Brunson.
Ooh.
I see. I think the world of Jalen Brunson.
Dude.
I think the world of Jalen Brunson. You know.
Yeah.
Sexton will be better, tradable contract next summer, $8 million cheaper per year. Could be. Yeah, Warren Franklin says, then Grimes scores 37 points in a game, 7 3-pointers. Grimes is just a rookie. Now he will be a second-year guy. Grimes was working out with Penny Hardaway. Yeah. Hey, listen, I like Quentin Grimes. I think I said for most of this cycle I would not trade him.
Yeah.
But if he was the one guy holding this trade up, man, Knicks fans are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
You know. It is what it is. Scott Howard says, I actually don't hate New York. I love the Pacers and Knicks playoff series back in the day. Yeah, me too. I'm just baffled that I'm a major market. They have underperformed so badly for so long too.
Yeah.
You know, Brett Robbins says Gordon Hayward averaged 5 points one year.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
Come on, guy.
Okay. I think Justin Kobusinski, JK. Your new name is JK. Sexton averaged 25 points 2 seasons ago. He's a good player. He's a good player. BB said, watch Jazz Media come out with info we knew all the time. Haha. Well, could be. Could be. Kurt Myers, doesn't this give the Jazz like 19 guys? I think 37 guys. By the way, the G League. Anybody hear the rumor that the G League is going to the Maverick Center?
That's what we hear.
The G League's going to the Maverick Center.
I mean, that'd be a big-time improvement over, where were they, Salt Lake Community College?
Jimmy and Steve's backyard basketball
Jimmy and
court.
Steve's Technical Institute, way out there in the Great Salt Lake that doesn't exist anymore.
They were out there at the... Anyway. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people saying the G League's going to Maverick Center. So if that happens, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
JJ47K says Brunson is underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Bevan says will be tough to beat the Pistons and Rockets for worst record. I think the Rockets are not going to have the worst record this year.
No, the Rockets are a good team, bro. The Rockets are a team that you want to talk about, a team that didn't make the postseason but can beat anybody on any night. That's the Rockets, 100%. Yep. And by the way, the team no one's talking about is the Los Angeles Clippers. John Wall, yeah, buddy looks like he's ready to kill someone. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that. Warren Franklin says Sexton hurt his ACL. Good luck, Jazz fans. Well, he did.
Yeah, but
he did.
Yeah,
he did. I mean,
modern
you're
medicine.
Not wrong.
Modern medicine brings guys back all the time. Look no further than KD and the Achilles.
You're not wrong. I mean, you're absolutely not wrong. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, appreciate you guys being here today as we talk about Donovan Mitchell traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Brought to you by the Utah Advocates, utahadvocates.com. The Advocates are your injury attorneys, guys. And again, if you're a little hesitant to talk to somebody on the phone or maybe that makes you nervous, you can chat with them at utahadvocates.com. You don't need to be worrying about all things, financial. They can help you defer your medical bills when you get into an accident. They're going to fight for you because that's what you deserve. When you've been in an accident, the Advocates know it's a really tough time for you. Mm-hmm. And that's why they do things like $0 up front. You don't pay a penny until they win your case, right? They give you a free consultation. It costs you nothing to call them and say, hey, do I have a case? Check them out online, utahadvocates.com. So let's recap this deal for everybody just tuning in. The Utah Jazz have traded Donovan Mitchell to the Cleveland Cavaliers for 3 unprotected first-round picks, and they sign and trade with the Cavs on Collin Sexton on a 4-year, $72 million deal. After this trade, the Utah Jazz now have 13 unprotected or lightly protected first-round picks through 2029.
Yeah.
The haul that they have gotten is amazing. The Jazz also acquire Collin Sexton. As I said, that's $19 million a year. Yes, he has a knee injury that he was dealing with, but this is a guy that is an all-star caliber player in Collin Sexton. The Jazz also get Lauri Markkanen and Ochai Agbaji in the Donovan Mitchell trade with the Cavs. Again, Jake, I just don't know how this isn't a win.
Yeah, it's definitely a win. There's no question about it. I think that you're just in a great place. You're in a place of flexibility, which the franchise hasn't been in years. And I think that everyone's going to say, oh, well, the Jazz are going to suck and they're not going to do anything and they're terrible. Okay, cool. Leave those guys to hate. What I'm telling you is, well, this team may not be good this season. Sure, they're not tanking. It is a full rebuild, but the rebuild process is probably 2-3 years long, not 5 to 7. So that's the silver lining.
Yep. Top Junkie says, Knicks fans, remember when we didn't get the number 1 pick and got RJ instead of Zion? How is that working out so far? This isn't the worst thing to happen. Good job again, Danny Fleece. My hat's off to him. I again say, you know the winner of this trade? The winner of the Donovan Mitchell trade's the New York Knicks for not making this deal. I mean, obviously for the assets and the players acquired, Danny Ainge crushed this thing.
Yeah.
But the New York Knicks are far from done. So, just don't pull the ripcord if you're a Knicks fan. Marlon Shaw says, when do you leave for Hawaii?
5 minutes ago?
Yeah, 31 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning we leave. So, T-Money says Knicks will target a small forward now. I would agree with that. Jeff Bevan says, oh, really, SLC stars at the Maverick Center? What else might be? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
what we're hearing, though, and I think that
I don't know.
I think that it's funny. I think the G League, just generally speaking, it could use some help overall. Like, I think that the talent that you get in the G League, everyone thinks the G League is just some dumpster fire of talent. Those guys can play. Like, you understand, the NBA obviously is the best league in the world, but G League guys could thrive overseas. Like, G League guys can dominate guys overseas. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the talent in the G League is really good. So if it is true that the G League is moving, like the stars are moving to the Maverick Center, I think that'd be a great move. I think that'd be really smart.
Well, Jared Butler needs a nice gym to play in.
Seriously, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
John Mulvaney says, yeah, the Jazz have 2 teams now. That's the secret. Smith starting a new separate NBA team in Vegas. Okay, that's cool. Marilyn Nurin says, hit the like button. And please do give us a thumbs up. Really helps the channel grow. Yo, Jimbo says, Donovan Mitchell wants to fire CAA. Knicks want to fire Rose. I doubt that.
Nah.
Modest Man says, great show. Glad you went live. Best move the Jazz could have made. Danny is not done. JC Bogey, where are they going? I still maintain I would watch the Heat for Jordan Clarkson, and I'd watch the Lakers for Bojan Bogdanovic. That's what I think. Let's see. NNK, because I ain't even going to try that. Who do you think won this trade? I think Danny Ainge won this trade. Noah Young says, no. Mark Hales says, guys, aloha. Enjoy your trip. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Noah Young says, dang, I just found out the news. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, sorry,
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Mark J says, I'm just as impressed the Monty Show sponsors as I am with my recent Ainge trades. Both are big time. Thank you, Mark.
Let's go,
Appreciate
baby.
that. Sexton, THT, Clarkson, Laurie, Kessler starting 5. Could be. I'm interested to see if they trade Jordan Clarkson, because I don't think that's a slam dunk. I do think he brings you a first-round pick. And the other problem with Jordan Clarkson is he's not 25, he's 30. So Jordan Clarkson's no longer a young man. He's been in this league a while now.
Yep.
So I don't know how willing they are to hang on. With that, I just think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. It will. Noah Young says, dang, we went in full rebuild. I think I would agree it's a full rebuild,
but
not
I
a
don't
tank.
think it's like one of these rebuilds where it's like 10 years of sucking. I think you're probably really bad for a year, and by the way, that's what we told you needed to take place. Again, go back to last summer. We told you were going to be bad for a year, and then that was the price to pay for 5 years in the NBA Finals. So,
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Ochai, oh boy, nice pickup for the Jazz. I like him. I do. JJ says tanking for Victor. We'll see. John Mulvaney says, now that Mitchell is gone, I'd like to point out the Jazz curse. Hayward, D-Will, A.K. Boozer, Memo, and probably a few others. Their careers tanked after being traded from the Jazz.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. I think the world of Donovan as a player.
Yeah.
I do. Yo, Jimbo says the Knicks are the Knicks the winners if they miss the playoffs. They won't miss the playoffs. I don't think, I just don't think that they will. I mean, that's just me.
Man.
What?
just the way this all went down, like, if you're big on Twitter, Woj is putting out stories about how, talks break down between the Knicks and, Danny, didn't like a deal, didn't like the offer and turned the Knicks down. And in 2 days' time, Cleveland Cavaliers putting to paper, and that's just truly incredible.
Well, what does Woj say? Now, I want to go on the record and remind you, I've told you for 6 weeks Grimes has been the deal breaker, right? New York has the assets package that Utah preferred, and the sides seem to be inching closer to a trade on Sunday night into Monday. Did you check my Twitter on Sunday night and Monday? You probably should have. But New York balked on including Quentin Grimes into the trade with R.J. Barrett to acquire Mitchell. When guard Emmanuel Quickley was proposed as a replacement for Grimes in the trade, Utah wanted 3 unprotected first-round picks as part of the package. Woo!
Yeah, take the victory lap, buddy.
All I can say is I'm hung like a steer. I just, but I don't have any sources. We're just, what do they call it?
Illuminate me.
Yeah, we're just the hacks on YouTube.
That's right, T.
We're just we're just the hacks on YouTube, man.
Yeah, look, we stay humble. We just do a little show, and we're just chilling. And,
With all due respect.
yeah, I know that we're not on the radio, and we have financial problems, and we're terrible, and we're jokers. But hey, it's fine. It's all good.
Tarek S says, "I told you, Monty boys, you not getting Grimes. Hell no. I'm a happy Knicks fan. You should be." You should be, because I think this is a hell of a price to pay. Yeah. Noah Young says, Cavs just stole Mitchell. They gave up a hell of a lot to get him. How do you say no to that?
You don't.
How do you?
You don't.
I don't know. Marlon Shaw says, you realize a steer has no huevos, right?
Donnie, please.
Ain't got no rounds, but he's got a shaft.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Let's move on, because that's awkward. Jay Shazam says, Kobe traded Kyrie for Collin Sexton to Danny. Danny traded Mitchell to Kobe. LOL, funny how the world works. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Gnostic Poisea.
Who the fuck are you?
Okay. Nick fans salty if they trade the whole team for a star. Nick fans salty after another losing season.
Dude!
Neville93 says, this made my day bad, but after I took a good look at what they got, I'm kind of happy, and we have cap space. That's right. That's what I'm talking about, Monty. You know. Sean Mirzinski says casuals. Exactly. Mark Hales says, you demand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It is what it is. Tarek says, I'm not salty. I'm just happy as bleep. You should be. You should be. Scott Price says apparently only accountants and plumbers can express political opinions. Mitchell pays a hell of a lot more taxes. He allowed to share his views. That's what I'm
saying, bro.
I just don't know why everybody got upset about it.
Offended about this situation.
Let's see. Jazz Hands Dan.
Yeah.
Last time Utah traded with Cleveland, it was Exum for JC, hoping this trade ages the same way.
Yeah, dude.
That was a great trade.
Difficult.
That was a great trade.
Yeah.
Matthew Benedict says Knicks picks greater than Cavs picks. Well, I would agree with that. Only because the Knicks are going to be not as good as the Cavs. So when you win more games, your picks are devalued. I don't disagree with that. All right, a couple more before we got to get out of here. Noah Young says, are the Jazz turning into the Thunder? No.
Oh.
No. I don't think so. I seriously doubt that. I wish the best for Donovan as I did for Hayward and others who left in free agency or by trade. Good to please don't boo him when he comes back. Jeff Bevan says, enjoy Hawaii, guys. I'll be living in your stories to live vicariously through you. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, man.
We're doing shows in Hawaii. Don't act like we're not.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be
Monday when we're talking about a Bojan Bogdanovic trade. Be there.
The Wanderer says, I don't understand why they had to make this trade this year. Would have been best to wait a year to see what would have happened and what we draft. There was no hurry.
It's just not in their plan, though. I think they're not in a hurry, but I think they have a plan. I think they have a strategy that they're executing on.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Noah Young says, never boo Mitchell. Never boo Gobert either. Last comment of the day. John Mulvaney, but the Jazz tend to make it their best player really look good and put them on a pedestal. D. Will was a great player, but we coveted him, as well as AK and Hayward. The Jazz made these players look good. That could be. That could absolutely be. It is not difficult. When you're really good at your job, like the Utah Advocates are, to put you on a pedestal and make you look good. UtahAdvocates.com, the premier injury attorneys in the country, no matter where you are, no matter what your deal is. Check them out online. UtahAdvocates.com. They can help you. You need an advocate when you get in an accident, when you're injured. You should be thinking about your medical bills. You shouldn't feel alone. You shouldn't feel like you're defenseless. Get to UtahAdvocates.com. Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier. Until Monday, aloha, America. Say goodbye, Jake.
Deuces, Donnie.